Drive into Florida and something will feel wrong before you can name it. There's a beach where the University of Florida says anyone who has swum there has almost certainly been within 10 feet of a shark. And the beach is packed every day. There's a school in the Panhandle that tortured children for 111 years, and the building is still standing. And the last place on this list exists because a man in 1938 released 6 monkeys into a river island and did not know they could swim. 13 places in Florida you should never stop while driving. Keep your eyes on the road. Number 13, the shark bite capital of the world. Drive into New Smyrna Beach in Volusia County, and the beach looks exactly like every other Florida beach. The white sand, the families, the surfers, and the break just past the pier. The difference is Volusia County has been named the shark bite capital of the world for 13 consecutive years. And the University of Florida's International Shark Attack File, ISAF, says anyone who has swum at this beach has almost certainly been within 10 feet of a shark. And the chances of a bite are 10 times higher here than anywhere else in the United States. Over 350 unprovoked shark bites have been recorded here since 1882, 9 per year on average, out of 16 in all of Florida, out of 69 in the entire world. Gavin Naylor, director of the University of Florida's Program for Shark Research, says the strong tidal flow through the Ponce de Leon Inlet concentrates baitfish and the blacktip and spinner sharks that follow them directly into the surf zone, and the murky water means neither the shark nor the surfer sees the other until contact. 3 people were bitten within 24 hours on a single weekend in 2019, and the beach was packed again the next morning. I would not get in that water. The sharks are not the only problem. Florida leads the nation in cases of Vibrio vulnificus, the bacterial infection some news outlets call flesh-eating bacteria, though experts say the name is misleading. What is not misleading is that 1 in 5 people who contract it die, sometimes within 1 to 2 days. And it lives in warm coastal waters, and the water is warm, and the beach is beautiful, and nobody is getting out. Florida is unhinged, and this beach is where it starts. That is just the first one. Keep driving. Number 12, the White House. Drive into Marianna in the Florida Panhandle and take the road towards the old Dozier campus. The buildings decay into the Florida scrub, overgrown and falling apart. And then a white concrete building appears, surrounded by a wrought iron fence with statues outside it. 111 years. That is how long the state of Florida operated a school on this campus where children were beaten, tortured, and buried in unmarked graves, and nobody shut it down until 2011. The Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys opened in 1900. Children as young as 5 were sent there for truancy, disobeying their parents, and being orphaned. Boys were taken to the White House and beaten with a leather strap by a man they called the Duke until they passed out. Survivor Charles Fudge arrived at age 10. He said the first 3 days felt like heaven. Then they took him to the White House. Survivor Ralph Freeman told the Florida legislature, "The state of Florida held us like slaves." The University of South Florida excavated the grounds in 2012 and found 50 bodies in unmarked graves, some with evidence of gunshot wounds. The state of Florida did not close the school until 2011. The Florida legislature passed a compensation bill for survivors in 2024, 124 years after the school first opened. Colson Whitehead's novel about Dozier, The Nickel Boys, won the Pulitzer Prize in 2020 and the film received an Oscar nomination in 2024. The White House is still standing, and they put statues outside it. Number 11. The mountains that should not exist. Drive through Polk County between Mulberry and Bartow, and the flat Florida landscape breaks open into something that should not be here. White mountains rising 50 to 70 feet above the surrounding scrubland, visible for miles, massive and wrong, like something placed here from somewhere else. They are phosphogypsum waste stacks, the radioactive, mildly acidic byproduct of phosphate mining, and there are over 1 billion tons of this material sitting in stacks across Central Florida with nowhere to go. Central Florida sits on one of the largest phosphate deposits on Earth. The mining strips the land to bedrock and produces the phosphate that goes into the fertilizer that feeds crops around the world. The waste stays. In 2016, a sinkhole opened beneath one of these stacks in Polk County and sent roughly 200 million gallons of radioactive wastewater directly into the Florida aquifer. The aquifer supplying drinking water to tens of millions of people across the southeastern United States. The company waited 3 weeks to report it to state regulators. Researchers at the University of South Florida have been documenting the contamination history of Bone Valley, as the phosphate mining region is known, for decades. 1 billion tons, sitting over the drinking water. The fertilizer leaves Florida, the waste stays. Number 10. The Muck City. Drive into Pahokee on the southeastern shore of Lake Okeechobee, and the town sits quiet on the water, a small rural community of about 6,000 people in Palm Beach County that has produced more NFL players per capita than almost anywhere else in America. Anquan Bolden, Fred Taylor, Ricky Jackson, Antonio Cromartie. Over a dozen players from a town of 6,000 people on the shore of a lake in the Florida Everglades. And the town itself has a poverty rate of 40.9%, a median household income of $26,000, and a violent crime rate of 2,025 per 100,000 residents, the second highest in the state of Florida. The FBI has documented Pahokee as the second most dangerous community in Florida, behind only Florida City, more than double the state average. The football field is the way out for young men who make it, and the University of Florida's Levin College of Law has studied the economic geography of communities like Pahokee along the lake for years. Towns built on sugarcane agriculture and cut off from the economic development happening everywhere else in South Florida. The PBS documentary Murder of a Small Town examined Pahokee. James Patterson asked on camera what the hell happened here. The answer is complicated, and the town is still waiting for it. The next place on this list does not have a crime problem. It has a different kind of wrong entirely. Number 9. The road that ends at a marker. Drive Route 24 west from Gainesville toward the Gulf of Mexico, and 9 miles before the road ends in the water, you pass a cast aluminum historical marker on the left side and a single preserved white 2-story house. That is Rosewood, a prosperous black community in Levy County that stood on this stretch of road until January 1923. On New Year's Day that year, a white mob descended on Rosewood and spent 7 days burning every building to the ground. At least 6 black residents were killed. The survivors fled into the surrounding swampland and never came back. Rosewood had a church, a school, a Masonic lodge, a general store, and black families who owned their land and their businesses. All of it gone in 7 days. The story was buried for nearly 60 years until Florida State University historian Dr. Maxine Jones retrieved it from court records and survivor testimony in the early 1980s. In 1994, the Florida legislature paid $150,000 to each of the 9 living survivors, the first and only time any government in the United States has paid reparations to victims of anti-Black racial violence. 9 survivors, $150,000 each. The Florida state legislature paid $1.5 million in 1994 and put up a marker. Rosewood was worth more than that, and everyone involved knew it. Number 8. The highway built over the neighborhood. Drive I-95 through downtown Miami and look out the window at the elevated highway structure carrying you through the city. You are driving over what used to be there. Overtown, once called the Harlem of the South, one of the most celebrated Black neighborhoods in America, sat directly in the path of the Interstate 95 corridor when the highway was planned in the 1950s. The city of Miami and the state of Florida built the expressway directly through the middle of it. 12 blocks of thriving community demolished. Hundreds of businesses gone. A neighborhood that had produced its own economy, its own cultural institutions, its own identity over decades, bisected and then buried under an elevated highway. The Lyric Theater survived and still stands. The Hampton House, where Muhammad Ali and Martin Luther King Jr. both stayed because Miami's white hotels would not have them, still stands. Miami-Dade College's research has documented that the construction of I-95 and the I-395 connector displaced over 10,000 Black residents and destroyed the economic core of a community that has never been rebuilt to what it was. Every car going through downtown Miami drives over it. Most of them do not know what was there before the road was. Number 7. Lodge Complex 34. Drive onto Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Brevard County with a visitor pass and follow the signs until you reach a concrete launch structure standing in an open field with nothing around it and no fence. A plaque is mounted at eye level. You can walk up and touch it. Most visitors to the Kennedy Space Center never find this place. On January 27, 1967, astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee died in a fire during a launch pad test for Apollo 1. The hatch on the command module could not be opened from the inside. The fire consumed the cabin in seconds. The entire Apollo program was shut down for 20 months while engineers made over 1,400 changes to the spacecraft. The moon landing happened 2.5 years later. Launch Complex 34 was never used again, and the pad was preserved exactly as it was, with a plaque listing the 3 names. I stood at that plaque and did not know what to do with myself. There is no railing, no gift shop, no interpretation center, just the pad and 3 names, and the understanding that the Apollo program did not start at a launch in 1969. It started at a fire on this pad in 1967. The pad that failed is the reason the one that launched worked. You are at the halfway point of this drive. The back half is where it stops making sense entirely. Number 6. The perfect town. Drive into Celebration, Florida on US 192 in Osceola County, and the entrance is exactly what it was designed to be. A town square, a lake, pastel Victorian facades, a clock tower, pedestrian streets built for a version of the future that felt achievable in 1994. Walt Disney's original Epcot was not a theme park. It was a real planned community where real people would live, engineered as the model for American urban life. Disney built Celebration in 1994, and sold the commercial district in 2004, and 13,000 people still live there. On December 27, 2019, Anthony Todt killed his wife Megan, his sons Alec and Tyler, his 4-year-old daughter Zoe, and the family dog in their Celebration home. He told investigators he was preparing the family for the apocalypse. The bodies were not discovered until January 13, 2020, weeks later. It was reported as only the second murder in the town's 26-year history. Disney imagined a town where children chased fireflies and porch swings provided refuge from the cares of the day. They built it. The cares of the day came anyway. Number 5. The stack that didn't hold. Drive US 41 near Port Manatee in Manatee County, and behind the chain link fence you can see the earthen berms, massive walls of compacted earth holding decades of accumulated water from a phosphate processing facility that was abandoned in 2001. The Piney Point facility has no operating company. The company went bankrupt. The waste stayed. In April 2021, engineers discovered a critical leak threatening a catastrophic structural failure of one of the storage stacks. The state of Florida authorized the emergency discharge of 215 million gallons of nutrient-rich wastewater directly into Tampa Bay to relieve the pressure and prevent the collapse. The discharge was roughly equivalent to the volume of 325 Olympic swimming pools. It triggered the largest harmful algae bloom in Tampa Bay in recorded history. A bloom that covered over 200 square miles of water, killed more than 1 million fish, and caused widespread seagrass and marine life loss across large sections of the bay. Mote Marine Laboratory in Sarasota documented the ecological damage for months afterward. The cleanup has cost over $200 million with no completion date. The company that created the problem no longer exists. The problem does. Number 4. Alligator Alley. Drive I-75 west from Fort Lauderdale, and after the last exit at Broward County, the lights stop. The road goes dark. No overhead lighting for the next 80 miles through the heart of the Florida Everglades, because the state designated this stretch a dark sky park to protect the wildlife from artificial light. On both sides of the highway, a few feet past the guardrail, the largest subtropical wilderness in North America begins. 1.5 million acres of sawgrass, water, and things that can kill you. Florida panthers cross this road. American alligators cross this road. Burmese pythons, the invasive population that has eaten through the Everglades mammal population so thoroughly that rabbits and foxes have effectively disappeared from large portions of the park, cross this road at night. There are emergency call boxes every mile. That is the emergency plan. That is the whole emergency plan. Genuinely unhinged. If your car breaks down on Alligator Alley in the dark, you press the button on a box and wait. The box is a mile away. The things that live in the dark 3 feet from the road are not. Florida Highway Patrol Lieutenant Gregory Bueno, who patrols most of the alley, has said publicly that the road challenges your integrity as a driver in ways that no other stretch of American interstate does. I have driven Alligator Alley in the dark once. I will not do it again at night. The silence is different from ordinary silence, and I cannot tell you specifically why. 3 places left on this list, all of them wrong in ways the road cannot prepare you for. Keep driving. Number 3. The bridge they called home. Drive across the Julia Tuttle Causeway connecting Miami to Miami Beach and look down at the water. The bridge is beautiful. Palm tree-filled islands fringed with red mangroves. Biscayne Bay stretches in both directions. From 2007 to 2010, there was a shanty town of tents, shacks, campers, and cars living directly underneath this bridge. And the Florida Department of Corrections knew it was there, and the state was fine with it because it was the only legal place those people had to live. After the 2005 murder of 9-year-old Jessica Lunsford by a convicted sex offender, Florida passed the Jessica Lunsford Act, and municipalities across Miami-Dade adopted their own stricter rules on top of it. The cumulative restrictions made 95% of available housing in Miami-Dade off-limits to released sex offenders. The Florida Department of Corrections identified one location in the city of Miami where released offenders could legally reside: the Julia Tuttle Causeway. Corrections officers told released offenders to report there or return to prison. By July 2009, more than 80 people were living under the bridge. They pooled money to buy a generator to charge their GPS ankle monitors, which they were legally required to keep charged. Residents nicknamed the camp Bookville after the lobbyist Ron Book, who had written the 2,500-foot restriction and also chaired the Miami-Dade Homeless Trust, nominally responsible for finding them housing. The camp was dismantled in April 2010 when the trust funded temporary housing. The restrictions that created it remained substantially in effect. Number 2. The Devil's Tree. Drive south from Orlando on I-95 and in Port St. Lucie, there is a park with an oak tree at the end of a path along a canal the locals call the Devil's Tree. In the early 1970s, a Florida sheriff's deputy named Gerard John Schaefer, the killer cop, brought his victims to this site, bound them to the tree, killed them, and returned the bodies afterward. He was convicted of 2 murders in 1973 and given 2 life sentences. In prison, he began corresponding with Ted Bundy and bragged he had killed more than 30 women. He was stabbed 49 times in his cell in 1995 and died before investigators could question him further. The bodies of 2 of his victims were found buried near the tree in 1977 with nooses still around their necks. The tree drips black sap. People come at night and collect it for what paranormal historian Mark Muncy describes as satanic rituals. Someone tried to burn the tree down. The city of Port St. Lucie filled the burned cavity with cement. The tree is still standing. It is accessible to the public. There is a trail to it from the parking lot. The park closes at sunset. I would not go to that park at night. I would not go in the daytime without knowing that story first. The tree is just a tree. The path to it is just a path. And a man who pen-palled Ted Bundy and died in prison with 49 stab wounds is still the reason people go there in the dark to collect the sap. Number 1. The monkeys nobody planned. I know you all come for the drama and the horror, but I cannot leave Florida without saying something great about this state. So I saved the best for last. Drive into Silver Spring State Park in Ocala and take the Glass Bottom boat tour. The spring pumps over 500 million gallons of 68-degree water per day, and the riverbed 30 feet below is visible with perfect clarity. Every fish, every stone, every blade of grass lit by the spring light. The water was so clear that the Tarzan films were shot here in the late 1930s. And then something moves in the cypress trees above the riverbank, and you look up and there's a monkey, a wild monkey, in Florida, watching your boat. In 1938, a Jungle Cruise boat operator named Colonel Toohey bought 6 rhesus macaques from a dealer in New York and released them on an island in the Silver River to add atmosphere to his tours. He did not know rhesus macaques are excellent swimmers. They were off the island before he got back to the boat. He bought 6 more. They swam off too. The Tarzan Finds a Son film was shot here the following year, with Johnny Weissmuller diving into the same river while the macaques watched from the trees. Researchers say they screeched with excitement every time he hit the water. The population grew to nearly 400 animals by the 1980s. The state tried to remove them and sold hundreds to biomedical facilities. The public outcry halted the removal in 2012. Approximately 400 wild rhesus macaques now live in the park. This is one of the coolest places on Earth, but it could give you monkey herpes. The 400 wild macaques in that park carry the herpes B virus, 70 to 80% fatal if untreated, though the CDC says no case has ever been documented from a wild one. The park posts signs. The monkeys cannot read them. Stop here, bring your Valtrex, or just don't kiss the monkeys. And to every person who watched this video and thought Florida sounds terrible, the locals will thank me for that. Ask any Florida local what the actual worst thing about this state is, and they will not say the sharks or the bacteria or the radioactive stacks. They will say it is all the people moving here. They're watching the traffic and the rising prices and the development eating up everything they love about the place and saying, please, for the love of everything, keep driving. Come visit, see the monkeys, then get back in the car. The locals will thank you for not staying. Florida locals, I love how much you've been supporting this channel, and I want to build my next video for you. Tell me in the comments, would you rather see Florida local lore and the paranormal, all the legends and hauntings and things that live in the dark corners of this state? Or do Stop Here Florida, the locals' only guide to the best of what this state actually is? Vote in the comments. If you have something to add to either video, I may use your exact words and give you a shout out, or maybe even a t-shirt. Subscribe so you're there when it drops.